Attention. Audience, please rise. Color guard, cross the colors.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's cool.
Color guard, halt. Color guard, post the colors. Please recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard dismissed.
Good job, boys.
So that was the Arrow of Light DIN members from PAC 162 that helped us with the Pledge of Allegiance tonight in honor of Veterans Day. So
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That
The Boy Scouts would like to have a picture with the board president and the superintendent. So if we could have the Boy Scouts come forward for the photograph. Very good. Come up here on stage, guys, and we'll get some pictures. We'll have you in front. I might walk out your vision, and there you go.
Here's photo bomb.
No. I'd expect nothing less.
How are you doing?
I'm great.
You gotta make sure you're seen. You don't want your mom not to be able to see you, and everybody be seen. You guys did a good job.
What in the world?
Good job, guys.
What you want to do when you're older.
Oh,
And it's got Jeff right next to it. Announcing, broadcasting.
oh my God.
He has your name. He drew your picture right here.
And because it is Veterans Day, if you have served in our military, would you please stand? Awkward.
Thank you.
Okay, I will go ahead then and call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, November 11th. We have all board members present except for Ryan Osmus. We have Pamela Preston joining us on phone, by phone. We need, first off, the adoption of the agenda, including the supplemental personnel report.
I make a motion for approval.
Okay,
A second.
motion by Tammy and a second by Jamie. All in favor? Pamela?
Yes.
Okay, 6-0. And approval of bills. Tammy, did you have a chance to look that over?
Yes. And I called and had a couple questions, but they were answered, so
Okay.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Okay.
A second?
Motion by Tammy and a second by Jeff. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, 6-0. And we have, tonight we have a special presentation. The Kansas Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance it would like to present, has an award for Lynn Elementary for Model School for PE Award. And we have Janelle Robbins Gady to present that award. And April Baugh, I believe you're here to
Receive it.
receive it. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Gonna get you all wound up here. There we go. All right, just forget, don't want to go around one more time? All right.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Very nice. Well, good evening, patrons, students, parents, board members. My name is Janelle Robbins Gady, and it's my honor to be here this evening on behalf of the Kansas Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. So that's why I gave you the sticky notes, CAPER, because that's our acronym. So yeah, it is really, really, really long. So anyway, here our organization sponsors a Model School Award program, which recognizes exemplary and quality physical education programs across the state by conducting a comprehensive evaluation process. And schools are rated on the following 12 components: time, Title IX compliance, professional involvement, professional growth, instructional practices, assessment, communication, curriculum, facilities and equipment, integration, inclusion, and administrative support. Through this evaluation process, schools are awarded silver status for exhibiting 10 or 11 of the 12 components, and the gold award is presented to a school which exhibits all 12 components. Tonight, I'd like to present Lynn Elementary School and physical education teachers April Baugh and Adam Castillo this banner and plaque recognizing them as a CAPER Silver Model School. USD 443, parents, administrators, staff, you should all be extremely proud of these dedicated teachers who have created a quality physical education program for the students in your district. Congratulations, April. So then people, if we could have a picture of any students or staff from the elementary, because this picture will go in our association newsletter. And by the way, I would like to thank you because April has been elected as our next president-elect for our organization.
That's great.
So she will be spending the next 3 years really working hard to promote physical education across the state of Kansas. So thank you for allowing her to run for that position.
That's great.
We're very lucky to have her.
We are too.
All right, can everybody give her a great big round?
May I ask you a question?
You sure can.
How does Kansas do as far as providing physical education? Are we where we need to be, or what's your thoughts? And
Well, I think we do a pretty good job at the elementary level because unfortunately, physical education is viewed as a break time for teachers because a lot of the negotiated agreements require districts to give release time, for planning. And so it's very, very easy. I used to be an administrator. It's kind of logical to give them that planning time when kids are in music and PE. We start to fail at the middle school level because a lot of our students are not getting daily physical education at the middle school level because it's not a requirement. And then unfortunately at the high school level, there's only a semester requirement of health and physical education. So, like I said, I think we do pretty good at the elementary level, but we have been working for years and years and years to get the state of Kansas to put in a requirement for physical education for middle school students. So it's something that we continue to work on, and hopefully someday we'll have some success. So if we could get support from people in communities, that would really be beneficial as well.
you bet.
So, any other questions?
Well, I think it's vitally important. This is the first generation in the history of America that has a lesser life expectancy. And one of the reasons is because of lack of physical activity. It's just one of the reasons, but it is a reason. So I think it's extremely important. So I appreciate your efforts on that.
Well, we appreciate having physical education teachers like April out there. They
Yeah.
can help us move forward in our profession. So, thank you for allowing me to give this presentation this evening, and have a great evening. And it was good to connect with you again.
You bet. Thank you for coming.
We used to coach against each other when he was at Jet. So,
You bet.
I will say, I think my track kids did pretty good.
I thought you were going to say my hair was brown.
Once a coach, always a coach, right?
Well, thank you for taking the time to come out and
Thank you.
present that. Okay, we are ready next for our Stuco reports. First up, we've got Alexa Martinez Alba from Dodge City High School.
Good evening. I'm presenting on behalf of the DCHS Student Council. Firstly, boys soccer placed third place in 6A boys state, and our football team are the WAC champs. We will be hosting class leadership at the high school on November 21st, so student leaders from Ness City and Scott City will come to plan phase 2 for their class leadership experience. Floor show auditions start in 2 weeks, and tickets will go on sale towards the end of November. Today at our meeting, we took a leadership test to get to know ourselves as leaders. We learned about this from the student council camp that we went to this summer. It helped us understand how to work with others, even though they may have a different leadership style than us. Lastly, the play No Sign of Intelligent Life will be running Thursday through Saturday at 7. Have a good evening and stay warm.
We will try. Thank you for that. All right, we've got Arias Armenta from Comanche Middle School. Maybe? I don't see her, so we've got Maybelline Morales from Dodge City Middle School.
Hi, I'm Maybelline Morales, and I apologize for missing the last board meeting. In October, DCMS participated in the National Red Ribbon Week. We showed school spirit by dressing up for activity days. We also targeted the issue of vaping by doing daily informational facts about the dangers involved in vaping. Stuco held their first dance of the year. We had a VSCO theme for this dance and had about 100 students attend. In addition, our cheerleaders had the opportunity to cheer at a DCHS game. 6th grade is also participating in winter intramurals. This month, we have girls basketball and wrestling in full swing. They are representing DCMS well. Go Cardinals! On November 8th, DCMS hosted the annual Veterans Day Assembly. We are proud that our students are able to learn about our nation's veterans and honor them. Yearbook Club has started their designs for this year's yearbook. We know they will do a great job. National Junior Honor Society is continuing to work with Joe Coles on learning how to be good ambassadors and student leaders. They also learn good decision-making skills that could be helpful at school and in life. Newcomers in our school sometimes do not know what Thanksgiving is all about. Our newcomer program spends an entire day teaching these students about the history of our country. We are all thankful to how to cook a Thanksgiving dinner. First quarter is over, and we are proud that the DCMS students pride their academics. These data is still being collected for this quarter to learn how many academic awards will be awarded. These go out to students with 3.5 GPAs or higher. We were also working on checking in every day with how we feel using the Zones of Regulations program. This is helping with learning our body's social needs as well as academic needs. Next month, Stuco is planning on hosting a food drive to help the Manna House. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are busy.
Yeah. We're ready now for recognition of visitors. Persons may present ideas or concerns regarding USD 443 schools. No action will be taken by the board at this meeting. Personalities and behavior of employees are not to be presented during this period, but are to be reported to the employee's immediate supervisor. The president shall determine the amount of time to be spent for citizen participation. And I believe Mr. Falcon would like to address the board.
Thank you. So my name is Richard Falcon. I work with Compass Behavioral Health and part of the Yellow Ribbon Suicide Prevention Program. I really wanted to come talk to the school board because I've been going around the state talking about how amazing our teens are in our community and how well of a job we've been doing in suicide prevention. I'm also been asked to even talk to the attorney generals about our teens. And our teens have actually been going, talking to other schools about starting programs that we have been doing here in Dodge City. We actually just had a meeting with Arc City this afternoon that the talk group was a part of, that we actually helped them to develop a program like ours. So the first slide is just telling you about the evidence-based study of Yellow Ribbon. Not only does it show a reduction of suicides when this is implemented consistently across a community, but the one thing is the belief about Yellow Ribbon is if you train teens about suicide prevention and you started these teen groups, not only will they be able to help themselves and do better with their mental health, but they would also be able to change the stigma of mental health in their community. And I believe that our teens have done just that in the last 4 years. They have actually, there is more awareness than ever before in our community. When I first brought this program to Dodge City in 2015, nobody knew a lot about mental health. And now, to give you an example, is the Dodge City A's baseball team has came to us and wants to know ways of how they can help. So I believe that our teens, because of what they do, bringing awareness to our community, has created this huge environment of making mental health okay for everybody. So we talk about why, and I'm just giving you like a very small portion of what I tell everybody around the state. We talk about why teen training is important is because Yellow Ribbon has been shown to help teens get help. Teens will tell their best friends before telling an adult, and we know this statistically, that teens will go to their best friends before they'll come to any of us. And that's why it's so important that we train our teens in suicide prevention. Teens who understand depression and suicide thoughts can work on helping themselves. One of the statistics in Yellow Ribbon is if teens know how to deal with mental health, they will actually find ways to help themselves to become better with it, to where they didn't even need mental health services. Teens will identify their friends who are struggling in suicide and get them help. I've seen this a lot, especially after trainings where teens will identify their friends. It says after a Yellow Ribbon training, 34% of teens will know who their friends are that are struggling with depression and will help them get the help that they need. Yellow Ribbon helps raise awareness in the community through Yellow Ribbon events. And as you know, our teens do a lot of events, especially during Suicide Prevention Week and throughout the year. And teens will help to eliminate the stigma of suicide. And that's probably one of the most important things is how do we get our society not to be afraid of the word suicide? So I talked to them about how to actually start a group, but you guys have already started and you know about the events, so I don't have to go through that. But what I want you to be aware of is the two girls in the picture. This is Mackenzie Earhart and McKenna Conrad. These were actually the first two girls that came to me and said, I want to start a Yellow Ribbon teen group here in Dodge City. Eventually, Allie Phelps would become the president with Mackenzie Earhart. But these girls were the ones that kind of took the courage to take this initiative, to bring it in front of the high school and say, we need this in our community. So then I go on to say how teens rule. This is our first conference. And for those of you that don't know, we send, this year we sent 11 teens to the Yellow Ribbon Suicide Prevention Conference in Denver, Colorado. Teens from all over the world come to this conference to work on suicide prevention. This is paid by the Ford County Coalition. So these teens paid nothing for this concert. They go free. I'm the bus driver, which makes a very interesting trip. But we get to go to Colorado and learn about how we can help our communities with other communities on suicide prevention. And then I talk about the events that we did. One of the events that the talk group did was chalk art. And kind of a funny story about the chalk art. We do positive messages during suicide prevention. The teen group started this, and then the Dodge City Community College got involved, except they had their art students do the chalk art. So they did this huge mural at the community college. And so the talk group wasn't going to get showed up. So they invited their art club to do this mural on their wall. to show that they can do just as good. And so all of these are created by the teens. Like I really do not have a lot to do with, I have a little bit to do, but a lot of this is driven by teens, and the ideas come from the teens. And they're the ones that push this. It's mostly guided by Melanie Scott, and Sheree Donnelly this year is helping us at the high school level to kind of help me with the teens, but Richard Falcon just sits in the background. And if they have snacks, sometimes I'll eat them. Their idea was to do yellow out. Yellow out was when at the football game they were doing pure yellow. This year we had Ford County yellow out, where the school of Spearville and Buckland also participated in yellow out. So they influenced a lot of different schools to participate in it. Then they also do service work at Friendship Feast. And then the funny thing about the ribbon that you see up there is they didn't want to do the balloon release anymore because balloons are not good for the environment. So they created this where everybody wore yellow shirts, and they did this big ribbon and took a picture of it. And we are now seeing schools around the country doing the same thing. They're to get influenced by what we're doing, and they're doing their own yellow ribbon and taking pictures of it. So this is more events. Up top is our talk group that have a booth at the high school. The picture on the left-hand side at the bottom is our middle school group. We actually started this group last year in January. The first day that we opened it up, we had 34 kids come in, and I was expecting 7. So we didn't have enough food. We had to go shopping. So the middle school group consists of both middle schools. It's both Comanche and Dodge City Middle School, which makes it very interesting when we pull those two groups together. Caprice Powell is in charge of this group, as well as Michelle Bogner and Sarah Thomas are the big people that helped me with this group and getting it moving. In the middle is when we did Cinco de Mayo. So we marched in that parade. And at the bottom is when we, so the grade school at Ross Elementary, I had to remember it, they were talking to Mr. B, who's their counselor. I don't know how to say his last name. But he was talking to his group of kids, and they were saying what was the most important topic, and they said it was suicide prevention. So the talk group came to talk to them about what they do for suicide prevention, which was a pretty neat thing that they were getting the grade schools involved. So then this year we went to, and this is just the impact that our teens have around the world. So this year we went to the conference. So the top left picture is, we sent 9 girls, I believe, this year to the conference. The picture on the bottom left-hand side, our girls became really good friends with the girls from California. They are a suicide prevention group just like us that are in California, and they actually got to be best friends, and I'm sure they shared Snapchat stories and all that. On the top middle, the guy there is from Zambia, Africa, who they have, and his group is to the right. So there is a Yellow Ribbon Teen group in Zambia, Africa, that he was there to talk to them about what Africa is doing in Yellow Ribbon. One of the things amazing about Yellow Ribbon is because it's in 48 countries, is there are teen groups in all those different countries. We can't really get them to the conference because of visas and stuff like that, but there was a lot of kids from all over the United States that they got to work with, talk with, and shared ideas of what they're doing in their communities and so on and so forth. Below is Rock Creek, Kansas. The reason why Rock Creek, Kansas, I think is so amazing is when they had a suicide in their community, their administration told them that they weren't allowed to talk about it. So the kids came to the board meeting and spoke about how not only do we need to talk about it, but we need to start this group. And the school board paid for the way to come to the conference to learn more about it. And they now have a very active teen group in Rock Creek, Kansas. And then on the bottom right is our city commissioners who wore green for Mental Health Week and are big supporters of us. This is the actual training that we did when Dale and Dar came to Dodge City, who were the founders of Yellow Ribbon, and did the whole high school, which we had to do 2 different sessions. Next, I'm going to show a video. This video was actually produced and made by the teen group, the talk group. This is their second video they did, and it was called Mental Health Matters. I show this video to every teen training that I do clear across Kansas. So far I think I've been in 30 towns across Kansas training. So every town has seen this video, knows who we are, and the impact that we have in our community. So this is a video that they created last year.
I am not a stranger to the dark. For we are glorious. When the strongest words wanna cut.
So last year, I'll try to catch up. So last year I made a proposal, which you told me I wasn't allowed to make a proposal to the board to give the people that help with this group a raise. So, is that right? Can't imagine. But they do an amazing job. And the one thing that I was wanting to show is that our teens are somebody to be extremely proud of. They have an influence around the world. They actually helped create an app, which I'll show you. Last year we had a person, Greg Valdez, who was on the international board of Yellow Ribbon, who shared that board with people in other countries. We had a girl that was from Australia that was on that board. And all of these teens are working to help with the problem in our community, and are making a big impact around the world. People are watching us in everything we do and learning from us because of our teens. One of the things that we've created, and so this is a serious note, I am asking us to look at this, is we do have a Yellow Ribbon app that's available on the Android and on the iPhone. It is free. What we would like is for every iPad in the school district to have this on there. The reason is because it's an easy way to call for help. If you push the call for help button, it will automatically get you into the hotline number. It will also has the text line to where you can text for help, but it also has resources of warning signs, what teens can do to help themselves, what parents can look at to help themselves. So there's a lot of different resources out there. When I was talking to the people from the state of Kansas, they're looking for an app that does exactly what this app does. And the nice thing is this costs nobody anything. It is free. But I was here mostly to brag about how amazing our teens are, how amazing the project is, and how they've developed it bigger than what we could ever imagine. So, any questions that the board has for me? Or anybody, I guess, for that matter.
I don't think so.
All right, thank you.
No, thank
Thank you, Richard. We appreciate you coming out.
Yes.
Okay, we are ready now for the consent agenda. That includes the approval of personnel, including the supplemental personnel report, the approval of minutes for our October 28th Board of Education meeting, approval of donation to Northwest Elementary School from an anonymous donor, approval of donation to Ross Elementary from the Ross PTO, approval of donation to the Dodge City High School Wrestling Program from the Wrestling Booster Club, approval of Community Foundation of Southwest Kansas Grant Award, One Book, One School Initiative for Comanche Middle School, approval of Building Blocks Project Grant Award, Bright Beginnings, approval of Kansas Early Head Start Home Visitation Grant Award for Bright Beginnings, and the approval of Kansas Early Head Start Child Care Partnership Grant Award, again, Bright Beginnings, and then the approval of the online auction with Purple Wave.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Jeff and a second by Tracy. All in favor? All right, 6-0. And we are ready now for new business, curriculum and instruction. Who's up first? Doctor, okay.
Yes, I am not Dr. Springston.
You are not.
Well, we're just coming back to give you another update about some of the things that are going on through funding from the DC Link Literacy Grant. We have a lot going on. The first, you should probably see the LinkedIn update in your materials there. But we did purchase culturally responsive book sets for every elementary classroom, ELA classrooms in middle school, high school, libraries and buildings across the district. So many classrooms got the culturally responsive book sets from Scholastic. We also, in partnership with the Kansas Health Foundation, Can't Wait to Read program, our DC Link staff members delivered just a little over 1,100 books across the school district. They were given out to kindergarteners. They were read to kindergarteners by the folks at United Way, and then kindergarteners received a free book. First graders in the district received a free book, and it's the Just Like You book that was actually published by the Kansas Health Foundation. One thing that's kind of exciting is that the KU Center for Research on Learning has partnered with Dodge City's instructional coaching program to begin looking at a research on instructional coaching and its impact on student learning. So that will begin in the spring semester. So we don't have all the details yet, but when we do, I'll bring them back to you. But they'll be at 3 different elementary schools with partnership with 3 of our coaches in second grade classrooms. And we've reached out to teachers, and teams of teachers have agreed to participate with us. So when we have more details, I'll bring them back to you. We're continuing our book giveaways. We did this last year. We have a reservation at the chili cook-off this year. One of our staff members is generously volunteered to be an entry for us in the cook-off. And then we'll have a table there giving away books to kids as they come. And then we have our Libros para Niños giveaway at the mall across from Santa Claus. So that date is set as well. I can tell you off the top of my head, it's November 25th for the chili cook-off, and it's in the middle of December when we'll be across from Santa. But we have cards that we're getting ready to send to public information to ask them to send those out. Another exciting development for us was we were invited to participate in The federal family engagement community of practice, the Kansas link grant folks, they host communities of practice across the state of Kansas for linked districts, but also the Federal Striving Readers group out of the federal government, they host communities of practice as well for the states that all received the link grant. And so Dodge City was invited to present on some of the family engagement things that we've been doing. For example, our summer trips and that kind of thing, the pop-ups that we did over the summer, that kind of thing. So you can see the list of some of the things that we talked about with them when we were brought on to present. And then finally, we're getting ready in the spring in January to do our final professional learning sessions for teachers. So it's going to shift this time to cohort 1 teachers, those 3rd through 5th grade teachers and ELA teachers at middle school, high school. They will be getting a 3rd session of culturally responsive teaching training. And then our cohort 2 teachers will get their first session in explicit vocabulary instruction training. In response to substitute issues, what we've done is we've taken the reading trainings and we're converting them to kind of a blended virtual model. So the instructional coaches actually take the online resources and take them to the buildings with their teachers, present them there at staggered times so that we don't have to have subs all at the same time. And then the cohort 1 teachers will all come on certain days and get training at the Learning Center. So we're adapting to our new substitute situation. So do you have any questions for us?
One question. I understand that we sent some teachers through the link grant to a program on dyslexia.
Yes, and it was in Oregon, and yes, they just are getting ready.
They
to
told me
back.
they were in Seattle, so I'm kidding.
I was like, wait a minute, don't do that to me. You're a mean.
It doesn't matter. I don't care about that.
Yeah. Side trip.
And then we also, we've sent to a couple of different conferences. We had a
Right.
multicultural conference that we sent people to as well. And then again, our menu is getting ready to come out in this, here it's out now for teachers, and they have another couple of weeks to apply to attend some of the different conferences that'll be available in the spring. We'll be reviewing those, taking them to core leadership for final approval to see who will go to conferences in the spring.
Well, the dyslexia really interests me, and I would really like to see what we learn, what we do, and how we proceed with that.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that when teachers or others get to go, one of the things that's part of the application process is the understanding that they need to be thinking about how can they bring that information back
Right.
and share it out. So they'll be happy to know that you're interested and want to see what they.
I really am,
they
and
put
I
together.
appreciate that.
So how many people get to go to the different conferences?
Well, as many as we can afford. We have the certain amount budgeted, and we have to look at, the travel costs and all of that. So it kind of depends on how many we can send based on room arrangements, flights, that kind of thing. So it's hard to say. I think, I'm probably going to get this backwards, but I think 4 people went to dyslexia here just finishing up, and I think 6 went to the multicultural conference that's just finishing up and coming back.
Okay. Any other questions? That's great. Thank you.
I just want to comment on appreciation for the work that is being done, and I want to point out that I don't want it to be overlooked, the logistics to make all of this happen with bringing in different groups, and, it's very complicated in that sense, and then to make adaptations because we are having difficulty with the substitutes is also another uniqueness. But we heard it with Richard Falcon's presentation, and we hear it again with the LINK presentation. We are being recognized, and not only across the state, but across the nation. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge responsibility, and I just want us to make sure we understand where we're at and who we are. And we take that seriously, and good things are going on in 443 land. So thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
for the update.
Thank you so
That's
much.
great.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we are ready for public information. See how fast Gary can walk or run.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Education, and Dr. Dirksen. I just have a few fun updates from the Public Information Office this evening. First, I'd like to share about American Education Week. We had a successful event Wednesday, and we had about 393 people that we served. So, had a good time, and there were a few extra things we added to the event this year. Also, I'd like to give you an update on our printer, and if you will, I'll bring these products up here. I had Karen share an overview in the Week in Review, so you'd get some details from our person who actually works with the new machine, but we're thrilled with it, and I wanted you to see how some of the things that we've just put out, what they look like. They're incredibly clear and concise, and if you work in the printing world, you would be tremendously excited with that machine.
Very nice.
The tickets, that allows us to save money, and so that gives you we have many other projects coming up, but that's just a small sample of what we can now do. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you this evening. Most importantly, we had a fun time with a ribbon cutting for Ross Elementary, their playground equipment. And so I asked Regina to share a few pictures. Seeing the smiles, that was incredibly worthwhile, and these children are so appreciative of their new equipment. So, and I think we'll close out with a video. But that's an update with what's happening with public information and some of the events that we've had this past week. That was kind of the video of the week.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
All right, we're ready now for Human Resources. Dr. Nance?
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Dirksen. Tonight I bring to you some staffing requests for 2020-2021. That's odd, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is.
And so the way this process works, typically these are submitted in February, but because some of our principals wanted to get a head start on it and get some advertising and some jobs posted out there, we're doing one round in November and we'll bring another round in February. So the November round had several submissions. I've given you that information that included the position that was being requested, the cost of that position, the justification for that position, the funding that would be used if it was approved. So I've included all of that in your packet. And at the end of the day, after presenting that information to the administrative cabinet, we as a group voted to approve a driver trainer for transportation, 3 second grade teachers, one at Sewell, one at Central, and one at Miller, a health science teacher at Dodge City High School, and a security service tech. Those were the approvals. And on hold, which means they're not completely out of consideration, maybe see this come back around in February, is the request for a social worker at Ross and a K-2 interventionist at Beeson. So for now, we're only asking for the driver trainer, the second grade teachers, the health science teacher, and the security service tech. Are there questions on the proposals, the decision making?
Ballpark, how many bus drivers do we have?
Diana.
We
Oh.
have about 50.
50?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bunch.
And I want to point out with this particular request that Diana made, There's some financial considerations to that. There's been some funding that we've missed out on because we didn't have certain things in place. Do you want to address that, Diana?
I do. Let me speak to that and follow along. But the funding has changed for transportation, and transportation is a waiting. And we qualify many students in Dodge City because of the distance the high school is for most residents. Anything over 2.5 miles, you get state funding from. However, after the legislative audit, they determined that we were the poster child for receiving too much weighting, and along with about 6 other schools that they targeted, they came up with a rule that you can only spend 110% of the last year's total of transportation expenses, no matter what your weightings are. So if you remember right, we talked last year, we started out with over $400,000 we were having to return to the state that we qualified for in weightings, but we hadn't spent because of that 110% rule. And so it's imperative that we keep expanding that because we qualify for that. And I want to point out, Molly did an excellent job. Molly Miller did a great job last year of finding things that we weren't charging for that were transportation, i.e., when the principal stands outside and does bus duty, that actually can be charged off in transportation because it is a transportation duty. And we had never became that technical, if you will, but now we are. And so this not only fits within allowing us to afford it, but if we don't do something like this, we're giving money back that we qualified for. And as a result, that was one thing I wanted to point out. I'm actually going to request that we look for that trainer this year because you're approving for next year. But if we can find the right person and start now, that only helps our cap for the next year anyway. So it only makes sense, and it's the way the rules work. And as a former transportation director, understanding the challenges and difficulties of preparing bus drivers and getting them ready, and the amount of time that you really need to spend with them. And when you're the superintendent of schools / transportation director, you don't take that much time. You just hire a wheat truck driver and hope that they understand the commodity is a lot more valuable now. So that was kind of the secret to being a transportation director in a small school. But anyway.
Now, what kind of contract would this trainer have? I mean, would it be a?
It would be a classified position, so it's an employee at will. There would be no contract.
Okay, so, but it's a 12-month position, that's what, okay.
Yes.
That is correct. I just didn't know.
Would they be involved in recruiting? Would they be involved in recruiting?
Yes, I would like them to assist in that.
And they'll also be involved in safety meetings and safety instruction, and we will be doing skills work with current drivers. They're not just going to be working with the drivers that we're hiring. They'll be working with all drivers on their skills, correct?
That is correct. And I don't know, also, I approached Dr. Dirksen and Ramona prior to Hammer coming in. The U.S. Department of Transportation, federal, are requiring all transportation, doesn't matter if it's bus, anything with CDL, that you have to be certified to train a bus driver, which you have to register with the state. Also, we will have to be responsible of setting up a theory class before they even do a written test. It's supposed to be in place February of 2020, I'm sorry, but they might delay it. So it's a lot, which already drivers, recruiting drivers and having them to do the written test and then doing the driving test. And then before all of this, they won't even allow you doing any of that until you have the theory class with the driver. So to me, that's why I approached them and asked them, you know what, I really need a full-time driver trainer there. And I could use them for a lot of other places when they're not busy with a particular person. As you guys know, our activities are pretty hectic in the fall and the spring, so they would also assist with the mechanics and stuff like that, and with records.
Are you doing that job now?
A little
doing
bit of
it
it,
right now?
yes,
Yeah,
because I only
okay.
have a part-time driver trainer right now, and so I am also certified and driver trainer, but then we have to get registered with the state.
So would you still keep the part-time driver trainer as well?
Hopefully, he'd be interested in it. Well, I would, well,
No,
yes,
my
I
thought
do.
was
I would
just
love to have
using some of
two.
the other schools around here, could they use that service and, I don't know, pay for it or some, to supplement some of it if they weren't busy all the
Because-
time? I'm sure they will be, but.
Yeah, that's what, when we had Keith Drilling, he's a state director for KSDE. And I told him, how are these little districts going to do that? Because the majority of the time, the superintendents are the transportation supervisors, and they're the trainers. And so, yeah, it's true.
Why do you keep pointing at me like I did?
Because you know what I'm talking about.
You did the best you
I
could.
did the best I could at the time, that's right. Hired good drivers.
So I didn't really hear all that conversation. So would we be available for the other districts? Is that what, I mean?
It depends, I mean.
On their theory classes and things like that?
It depends if, to be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you that right now.
Sure.
Because I haven't even started
Right.
even with the theory, because they haven't actually planned it out for us exactly what they want. So,
But it's supposed to be in place by February.
yeah, and they haven't issued anything out.
Okay.
Unfunded mandates. So
Yeah.
going back to what Jeff said, so if we hire this full-time person, the part-time person would still remain? Yes.
Because they're substitute drivers.
No, I think it's a good thing. I just wanted to make sure, just because we
Yes.
hire the full-time, then we're,
Yeah, no.
And if we could, if it were possible, it may not be possible to help out the smaller districts, that would even be, that would be phenomenal. It may not be possible, and I don't know what I'm talking about, but if it could, it would be, I would like that.
okay, so I make.
Are there any other questions on the proposed staffing?
Yes, I have a couple questions. By hiring these new teachers at Ross and Miller and Sewell for second grade, what does that take their average class size, student-teacher ratio class size down to?
Well, it was Sewell, Central, and Miller. But Tammy
I'm sorry.
can probably tell you what that would come down to.
And the class size is going to strictly depend on the number of students that are enrolled. And so currently, first grade is still set around 20, but right now kindergarten was up to 22, 23, depending on the total number of students that we have. So that will just keep rolling based on enrollment. And so the second grade, the goal is probably to still keep it lower, but that will be determined on the number of students that enrolled in each grade level.
Oh, okay, thank you. And I have another question about the social worker. How many social workers, does that make one at every attendance center now?
No, the request came from Ross. We've had this request before, and from different schools, and it's a great concept. This is the first year that we've actually had a master's level social work intern working in our district, and that person happens to be working at Ross. And the fact that they've seen some benefit from having this individual coordinate with the counselor services for the student, that led to their request. And it's one of those things, in an ideal world with an unlimited bucket of money, we would put one in every school. But how do you start this? How do you fund this? How do you sustain that? We haven't really worked all of that out yet, which is why it got put on the hold list.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something we need to address. Are we going to continue and put one at every attendance center, or are we just going to put one at certain attendance centers? And I think that's something we need to talk about and think about.
I think if we were to put them at certain attendance centers, it would be with the understanding that they would cover more than one school. I don't think we would stick it at one and say you're the only one that's ever going to get one. But we might have to start growing it gradually too. I don't know that we can hire 9, but we might, kind of gradually be able to grow it. We're not sure yet.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
So I make a motion for approval of the 2021 staff request.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion by Tammy and a second by Tracy. All in favor?
Okay.
Pamela?
Thank you.
You know, at some point in time, as we get into hiring social workers, I would love to have a dichotomy of the counselor's response, a day in the life of a social worker, and the day in the life of a counselor, to see, you know, where we, because if we understand that better, we may be more apt to staff it better.
Well, I think that's a fair statement, and with this being our first full year, we have that intern for the
Right.
entire year. That's the requirement through Kansas University. So I think we're learning a lot
You bet.
right now about what that might look like in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did Pamela vote? Pamela?
Yes.
Did you vote on that item?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, I probably wasn't loud enough. Yes, I voted.
Okay, so it's 6-0. Kathy? Okay, we are ready now for business services. Hammer?
Good evening. I had 3 different action items I wanted to bring before you guys tonight. The first one is we're just seeking your approval to go out for bids on 4 different vehicles. You've got some information in front of you with the specifics on those requirements. There's a special ed bus, a regular bus, if you will, and 2 activity vehicles. And again, at this point, we're just wanting to go out for bids for those 4 particular vehicles. Do you guys have any questions on all that information you have in front of you? I do have backup, so.
Yeah, good call.
Wise man.
I'll make a motion to approve the specs for transportation vehicles.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Tracy and a second by Jamie. All in favor?
Yes.
All right, 6-0.
And I do want to point out that we have some maintenance trucks that may be coming to bid later, but they were not ready for bid specs at this time, so we may be bringing that up at a later date. But we appreciate you approving the 4 school buses and activity vehicles that you just did, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Diana.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Diane.
Okay, the next 2 items are somewhat related. The first one is we're back in June. I think they brought before you guys the admin building, the parking lot, sharing that portion of it with the National Guard. Kind of went through the summer. There was some silence. The Guard was actually having a change in personnel, so things kind of just stalled out for a little bit. Since that time, we've reconnected. They want to pursue that. I believe it was at your June 10th meeting that you guys voted to pay for 25% of that portion, and the Guard would pick up 75%. So since that time, we've gotten together, and what is in front of you now is the architect's portion of that. So the total amount is $30,000, but that includes the Guard. So what's going to happen, assuming you approve that, is we will pay GLMB the $30,000. The Guard will reimburse us for the 75%. So the net to the district will be $7,500. Does that portion of that make sense?
Yes.
Very good.
Okay. Any
Make a
questions?
motion
Okay.
to approve the parking lot.
All right.
A second?
Motion by Jamie and a second by Tammy. All in favor?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay. This is what I had to study for today. I feel like I'm back in school.
Tonight's the test.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Okay, so along the line, the same line of that, this is part of that is in this proposal. What you have in front of you next on the agenda is the change order with Hutton. So that has several things. If you can look on the page, you'll see 1 through 13 different items on there. Some are pluses, some are minuses, and those are things that have taken place since you voted on the last change order. But the biggest portion of that is $409,205 for that portion of the National Guard. Now, you guys did vote to approve 25% of what was estimated at that time, which at that time would have been $95,916. Since that time, that estimate came in a little bit higher. Let me kind of start at the end, and I'll kind of back up and you can ask some questions. But so the bottom line is the net change order is $331,583. But of that, the Guard is going to pay $306,903.75 because that's their 75% of the 409,205. Does that make sense, Jeff? I saw you. Okay.
I'm just trying to do the math here.
No, believe me, same here. I got cheat sheets here. So the net to the district is $24,679.25. So all those pluses and minuses, after you get down to the net change, the addition that the district is going to be out is $24,679.25. Does that make sense so far? Because again, so what we have to do to do this legally is we have to write the PO. So I'm asking you for a larger sum because back in June, we didn't ask for the full amount of the PO that was going to cover the National Guard's portion. So that's why we're asking you for a greater amount today so we can cover that. And then we will pay Hutton and the National Guard will reimburse the district.
Do you have an idea of how long it will take the National Guard to reimburse us?
And isn't that
That's a loaded question.
I've been asked that question. So I do know that they've already submitted it. I'm going to guess January, February. I've been assured it'll be this fiscal year, not necessarily this calendar year, but this fiscal year.
Okay.
And they submitted the portion for the GLMV even before they did this for Hutton. So they said that one would probably come through fairly soon.
Okay.
Do we have a contract of some sort that states they're going to reimburse?
How did they commit? Like Janie.
Yeah.
They've been enthusiastic and very, once they jumped in, they've jumped in heavily, I would say, especially after how quiet they were from the beginning.
They jumped in with paper and pen?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys know the answer to that, what their commitment has been? Yeah.
I mean, there's been email approvals, but I'm not aware of any signed contract.
Yeah, yeah.
But we do have something in writing, like they approved it in writing.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
It is a good deal. If you drive by,
Looks
and
nice.
see on Central, to have that last remaining section completed is going to be fantastic, to be honest. So I'm very ecstatic about this and think that it's a good deal. We're getting this all connected.
In fact, I had a patron last week say, "Why are you doing that entire parking lot? And then that drive off of Central is just, my car will fall into it." So, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions about what's before you?
I'd make a motion that we approve the change order as presented.
I second.
Right. A motion by Jeff, second by Tammy. All in favor?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hammer. All right, we are ready for Board of Education member district responsibilities. Park and Rec Advisory Board. Tracy, do we have any report?
Yes. Sean Steiner sent me the notes from the last meeting. I wasn't there. They talked a lot about the city pool and the attendance this year because of weather. They had less days open and attendance was down. Full disclosure, they knew that it wasn't going to be a moneymaker, but they're looking at exploring a few things with that. Initially, they brought in a plumber for the season shutdown to make sure it was shut down properly, so it's less of a hassle when they go to open up again. This last year, I guess it was a little bit more than what they anticipated. And the next meeting is actually tomorrow.
Okay, very good, thank you. Bright Beginnings, Head Start, Ryan is not here. Is there anything we need to know?
You know, our focus here the last 2 months really has been on preparing for our grant. We have our 5-year renewal coming up. So we've completed a self-assessment and a community assessment, and we're using that data to design the grant. So it's consuming a lot of our time, but it's exciting to look forward to what the results have shown us that the community is interested in from our program's perspective. So that's really what most of our focus has been.
Okay. And a side note for Bright Beginnings, this is Kansas Reads to Preschoolers Month.
Yes, it is, the whole month.
Yes, and I went and read, and it was fun, easy, and painless, so.
Yeah, so thank you very much for doing that.
If anybody would like to, I'm sure you would welcome them to go.
We sure would.
Yeah.
And it's, I hope it's fun. It's fun for me, so I know the readers are welcomed, and I think they also appreciate the experience. So Sandy Halling has scheduled that, and we also have basically a dress-up week designed to coordinate with that this week. So,
And it took less than 30 minutes, so it's not a time-consuming thing either, so.
yeah, they only pay attention for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, right, I noticed
No.
that. I tried to read, the book that I got was Spanish and English, and I completely failed at reading in Spanish, so.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. Thank you for your report. Okay, we have special education.
We have a meeting next week, and then I did go, I'm starting to get nervous because the move is, and we walk through the whole school at Ensign. Holy moly, there's stuff everywhere. Lord, it's just, that's going to be one big, humongous chore. And so I haven't got a chance to talk to John about that yet, and just what kind of plan. Jason, have you guys talked about it very much yet? No. Okay, well, we're going to, because we're moving tomorrow, it seems like, the way time flies.
Mm-hmm.
And we did have, and I can't remember what I shared last time, but Doug Meckel was at our meeting, and we, I guess, formally launched the search for a new director.
Very good.
And we hope to begin that process in January, and then kind of do it on the same schedule we did, because I like that schedule very much.
Mhm.
So that's the way we'll proceed.
Very good. All right, thank you. Pamela, do you have anything as far as legislative?
I just would like to say that the Kansas Association of School Board is looking at the 2020 legislative session and what they want to kind of push, and reducing vaping is a big thing on their agenda. Even looking to try and get the legislator to reduce or raise the age for buying tobacco and vaping products from 18 to 21, and so that's kind of on the forefront, and certainly in a lot of the news now.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that. Capital outlay.
We just got an email saying that we're trying to get something scheduled.
Very good.
So hopefully something scheduled before December 6th or 5th or something like that, right?
We're in that neighborhood,
Yeah, very good. Calendar committee, have we?
I've got an update.
Okay.
We are meeting tomorrow. We received 15 calendars from our calendar committee. Not one was identical. We had no duplicates. So we'll meet tomorrow. We'll narrow that down to 5 calendars, and then narrow it down to 3. We'll send that out for a staff vote, and that will happen December 2nd through the 13th. We'll bring it to the board for the first read on January 13th, and we'll ask for your approval on January 27th, prior to the agreement where we have that decided by February 1st.
Very good. Thanks, Carrie. All right, and Pamela, we've got you down to review district bills for our December meeting. Are you?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we are ready for announcements. November 25th is our second Board of Education luncheon meeting for the month at Sunnyside at noon. November 26th will be a 2-hour early staff dismissal, offices closing 2 hours early for the holiday. November 27, 28, and 29 will be the Thanksgiving holiday, no school, and offices are closed. December 9th will be our Board of Education meeting for December here in the Austin Boardroom at 6 o'clock. There will not be a second meeting in December. December 16th, the Board of Education is invited to join at the Administration Building for the Christmas luncheon. That will be at 11:30, and we'll get more information on that later. December 20th is the end of quarter, no classes. It'll be a teacher workday and staff development day. 2-hour early staff dismissal, offices closing 2 hours early. And then December 20th through January 3rd is the Christmas break, with classes resuming on Monday, January 6th. Are there items for future board meetings or additional information? No? Okay, we need an executive session. We need one for personnel and one for real property. About how much time do you think we need?
Okay, on the personnel matter, I believe we can cover that in 10 minutes, and I would like for school attorney as well as Dr. Nance to be a part of that conversation. And then for real property, we'll come out of that meeting and take no action tonight, but then we'll have an executive session for real property, and that one I would like Hammer and the school attorney.
And how long for that one?
5 minutes, probably.
Okay.
Okay. So I make a motion for executive session for 10 minutes for personnel.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Tammy, second by Jamie. All in favor? 6-0. Thank you, everyone.
And we're hoping there will be action taken after the executive session on property, but that will be an open meeting.
Jamie, right?
Yes.